Well, hello there. In this video, I will show you how I made my Aurra Sing sniper rifle. First, here's what I used to make the rifle. Cardboard, contact cement, sharp box cutter, a threaded rod and 2 nuts, Kwikseal and EVA foam, and of course some paint. I drew up a quick sketch of the rifle and sized it to my own height. Very important parts are also 2 PVC pipes, one around 1 cm diameter and the other around 2. I started by measuring the PVC pipes, cutting them with a small saw, and after that I cut open one of the thinner PVC pipe pieces and stuck one into the other to make it more sturdy. Oh, important, I also put on some gloves to protect my hands while doing that, because the PVC pipes were a bit slippery. Next step was cutting all the EVA foam parts. I made a lot of rectangles and rectangle stripes to wrap around the tubes later. For all more difficult parts of the rifle, I made stencils out of thin cardboard to make sure I got the scaling right. I drew them onto EVA foam and cardboard to keep everything lightweight. The outer layer was always EVA foam. And here are all the parts. I also got some toilet paper rolls, because those are important. Then I glued everything together. Here also important note, I made sure to wear my respiratory mask or dust mask, because I use contact cement as a glue, which is toxic to your lungs. To use contact cement, I put on some glue on both sides of what I want to glue together, then wipe it over the whole piece with another small piece of EVA foam. I let it dry almost completely and then press both glued pieces together. And that's it. They will never be separated again. I cover the edges of the glued piece with some thin EVA foam to make it prettier. And the same over and over again, until everything is glued together. Once the main cardboard body was glued together, I figured out where the bigger EVA tube should go through. I cut the piece and then glued the EVA tube in and the piece back together. Now comes the scope. I glued a rectangle EVA foam piece around it. I also made some beveled parts for the transition. Main body again. The outer EVA foam layer got some carved out parts to fit better on the round PVC pipe. And then again I glued it on. Back to the scope. I glued on more rectangles to make the end parts bigger, made a beveled edge and then glued on the toilet paper roll to make the outer layer more even. Now comes the part where you can disassemble the rifle later. I figured out how deep the thinner PVC tube should go into the main body. I used the leftover toilet paper roll to make the threaded rod fit into the PVC pipe. For glue, I used hot glue here. Then I glued it into the end of the PVC tube. To get the rod and the nuts into the main body, I cut out where it should go in. I glued in the 2 nuts, not the rod. And then I covered the open edge with EVA foam again. Then I made the silencer part on the front of the thinner PVC tube, also from EVA foam. All my pre-made rectangles get used now to make the transitions prettier. I glue them onto each other, the biggest one on the bottom. After all the rough edges are covered, I can start to assemble everything. I use my screwdriver to drill the holes. That was not so easy, by the way. For the smaller holes, I used my Dremel. After the holes are big enough, I glue the pieces on. Next step is carving all the edges. I want it to look rounder. Then I figured I needed another layer of EVA foam on the main body. I cut them out, glued them on and carved them too. With several small EVA foam squares, I made 2 spacers to hold the scope in place. I used my Dremel and sanded down all the edges to be less rough. I Dremeled over a vacuum hose connected with my vacuum cleaner. That took quite some time. But when Dremeling is done, I also used some sanding paper to make it even smoother. I glued on the round thingy to the scope and then finally glued the scope on. To make the edges look even smoother, I used some Kwikseal. I put it on and then smoothed it by using some water on it. And how could it be different? After everything was dry, the whole thing gets sanded down again. I noticed the scope was rather wobbly on top of my self-made spacers, so I put 2 strips of wobbler on top of them. I heated them up with my heat gun and pressed them on. And then finally, paint. At first I applied a layer of Plasti-Dip as a base for the paint. After that was dry, I sprayed everything with an aluminum spray paint I still had at home. I used my reference pics to see where I needed to paint the rifle in different colors. I first used a dark gray acrylic paint. I also masked the areas that shouldn't get any more paint on them. I painted on a second layer of slightly less dark gray acrylic paint on the main body and the middle part. I also added some highlights. To make the rifle look used, I dry brushed all the edges with black acrylic paint. Last, I made the 2 symbols on the side of the main body. I used thin EVA foam for it, cut out 2 triangles, rounded up the edges and painted them black. I added the red circles in the middle of the triangles and then took some color off with a toothpick to get the striped look. I let them dry and glue them to the main body. I also added some black color to the edges and some silver highlight. As you can see, I also added some silver highlights to most of the edges to fake that metallic look. If you've got any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will try to answer them. And ta-da! My bounty hunter rifle is done. Kill count on the sides too. I wanted to show you how I disassemble my rifle. I can unscrew the longer part at the front. It takes some time, but it works. As you can see, the aluminum paint there comes off a little bit, but that is no big deal because you can't see it at all. And this is how big the rifle is compared to my height. And also, as you can see, my finger isn't long enough to reach the trigger, but the character Aurra Sing has longer fingers, so that's fitting too. And that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more. Check out my Instagram because I'm way more active up there. And if you want to support me, visit my Patreon for even more content. See you next time.